Right guys, what is up? We are back for some more AOR Apex Online Racing League content here today, and it's been a while, but we are back, and I want to be doing these videos a bit more often because this is the thing I'm actually enjoying the most on my channel at the moment alongside career mode, and the league racing stuff has been so much fun. I'm really enjoying my return to competitive racing. I loved it in squad sprint, and this is even better. If you guys have missed any of the races so far, there will be a full link to the playlist in the top right hand corner of your screen, guys. Also, there'll be a link to the squad sprint playlist. All my league races in F1 2019 pretty much, so if you guys want to check them out, I think I've done pretty good lately and I'm quite happy with myself. But a few updates going into this race, guys. Before we jump into it, I want to mention in this video, if you guys focus on the bottom right of the video often, especially in qualifying and the race, you will see my throttle input. For this race, my throttle was broken, so I had a broken throttle at mid-throttle input, so around halfway it would kind of spike and glitch around. And also I couldn't max out the pedal, so when I basically pressed the throttle all the way down, on the dash, on the representation, it wouldn't actually be full throttle. I'd have to use both of my feet to mash the throttle down completely and get full speed. So I was massively handicapped going into this race straight off the bat, and I was debating to pull out, but I decided, you know what, we're just going to take part anyway. You never know what could happen, and we can have a little bit of fun. So yeah, that's that out of the way. We're now going to move into the qualifying report, and we're going to see how we got on the qualifying session, and hopefully the issues aren't too bad and we can still have a good session and hopefully get a good grid slot. But nonetheless, we jump into qualifying, and this was the first of 3 runs in the session. And to be fair, for qualifying, I could kind of get around the issues a little bit, you know, because it is only 1 lap. So for 1 lap, you have full concentration and maximum focus, and you can make it work. So we make our way through the final corner. Now you can see we're going to try and take it nice and easy on the exit, opening up the DRS, and we run across the line, and we go P7, half a second off the pace. So not a great lap, but then my second one got underway, and this was a really good lap, actually. Really big improvement on this one. We find 2 tenths straight away in the first sector, and really hooking it up nice. As we then go through the second sector, we've increased our margin now to 5.5 tenths, and the purple sector 2, and then 1 more sector to go, the final sector of course, and sector 3. We now make our way into the final corner 1 more time, and this time opening up the DRS, and we also run out of ERS across the line, but we improve by nearly 7 tenths, and we jump up to 4th place, 3 tenths off pole position of course, which is set by VSR Kevin. So things are looking very good, but we're now going to cut on to our final lap in qualifying. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Like I said, keep an eye on the throttle in the bottom right and you'll see exactly what I mean. But this is a full lap of the US circuit here at the Circuit of the Americas.
Seconds left in the session.
And now out the final corner, we get a bit sideways and a bit loose, and we also run out of ERS, but we do improve marginally. There was a bit more time in the lap, but still it was our personal best, and we go back up to P4. Eventually, everybody else improved, and we got pushed down to 8th place, and it was actually one of the closer qualifyings of the season. The top 8 covered by 3 tenths of a second, and a part of me believes if I hadn't had the issues, you know, with the throttle, I could have easily got a top 5, you know, FK's lap there in P5. That was definitely achievable. It wasn't a smooth lap anyway, my final run, so there was more time to find, but we was definitely in the mix, and I think we did have pace to compete, but in the end, P8 was the best we could do with the limitations, and it's the best we can possibly achieve. I can't complain too much. We are in the top 10. We are going to start the race on the soft compound tyres, as we have Corsac on pole, Kevin in second, and Jake in third place. And Jake, to be fair, He's battling us in the championship, so that's a big result for him in terms of the championship battle. And Marco Tanita down in P4, so he needs a big result here today. FK down in P5, and then we have Kazlaik in 6th. Padlo Futes, who we're also battling in the championship in P7. We're in 8th, and then 9th place is Boomsong K with JSR rounding up the top 10. But guys, there's your grid for the race. We're now going to move into the actual action on Sunday, and hopefully we can try and turn this around and get something out of the race. It's race time here at USA, and here we are at the end of the formation lap, starting on row number 4, alongside our rival in the championship, Padlo Futes, and we're going to be starting on the soft compound tyres, of course, that we qualified on. But here we go, getting ready for the 5 red lights at the Circuit of the Americas, and it's going to be lights out and away we go for yet another race in the AOR F2 split here on PC. And it's a good start from us, actually, as we get on the inside into turn 1. We're going to try and go relatively low on the brakes, but being cautious to the car in front. But there's contact, unfortunately. The Haas of Kazlaik gives me a bit of a brake check. There's contact again. Somehow we avoid the contact and we slip past. And there's more contact on the right, as I believe Scrippy crashes out of the race, and we recover back to 8th place after all of that. But unfortunately, we have wing damage. Somehow, with that crash, there wasn't a safety car or a VSC, so we are absolutely screwed here because we are going to have to pit this lap. The damage is too significant. You know, you can't drive with wing damage around this track. Especially through sector 1, you can really notice it. And Zen Army behind us on the Ferrari, he's on the medium tyres, and he had the confidence to just lunge it down the inside here. And between, you know, the broken throttle, broken front wing, also my car just generally didn't feel that good with the setup. I wasn't too happy with it. Yeah, we struggled massively, and we was not on the pace. You can see my damage down the right front. We had a yellow to orangey kind of damage, a bit more on the heavier side. And Zen Army down the inside here in the brake zone. I was still trying to hold on, but I was fully aware, and I already knew I had to pit this lap, and we're just trying to hold on for as long as we can here. Zen Army though with a fantastic move around the outside as we request our pit stop, and credit to him, he makes a great move and he's going to take it there. And a really nice sequence actually, side by side battling, and in the end we have to let him go. We just don't have the grip, and you can see here the understeer we have with the wing damage, just struggling so much as now Padlo Futes goes around the outside, and I have to leave a little bit of space, but again with the understeer it's really hard to keep the car on track. But eventually we pit and we have to give up. Unfortunately, it is what it is. We're going to have to put the hard tyres onto the car, and pretty much we're going to go to the finish. Even then, that's going to be pretty close. Tyre wear is high around here, so we'll see how it goes. It's going to be tricky. We're going to get a front wing change, and hopefully we can get underway, but it's not looking good for us down in P14 and last in this race as we rejoin. And yeah, pretty much at this point, all we can hope for is a VSC or a safety car or something. I mean, to be fair, if my pace is good on these tyres, then we might get back into the race. But having said that, I know my pace isn't good because of the broken throttle, and also my car doesn't feel that great with the setup anyway. So we're going to be in trouble here. And here's a bit of an observation. So for those of you that haven't seen it yet, you can see my throttle here. I want you to pay attention to mid-throttle when I'm putting the throttle on. You can see the spiking. That can be a good thing and a bad thing. So that does lead me to having spins. And also you'll see now, pay attention to when the throttle goes max out. There's a little bit at the end where it doesn't quite max out, and I have to push it a little bit more. You can see that in certain areas where I lift and kind of coast. Again, there you'll see where my throttle isn't quite maxed out. We have to put the throttle on again, and that was pretty much the story of the whole race. I had to do that every single straight, and it was hard to kind of remind myself to do it because instinctively you don't press the accelerator with 2 feet, you know, and try and push the throttle as hard as you can. So it felt really weird. We cut onto lap number 4, and this is where we are. So we're about 21 seconds behind Kazlaik, and he's the next car on track. And you'll see here we lose the back and out the final corner. Again, that's down to the throttle messing me up, and I'm not even setting personal bests. You know, the pace just wasn't there, and I wasn't enjoying the race, to be fair. And I was of course streaming this race on my Twitch, and I was speaking to my chat in real time saying, you know what, I might quit this race because I've just not got no pace and the issues are too bad. We're 25 seconds off the nearest car. The leaders, you can see in the minimap, are actually pitting. The last 3 laps they've been doing their pit stops, and they've rejoined, and we are nowhere near them. Korsak, of course, in front of us, he was the net race leader. We've now got Kazlaik, who is actually pitting. He was one of the few cars that was near us, and to be fair, we are going to get ahead of 1 car, which is good. We did get an invalidation on that lap. We did get a warning for track limits as well. So we've currently got 1 warning to our name as we move up to P13 as Kazlaik rejoins, but he's on medium tyres, so he's going to be a lot quicker than us on those. These hard tyres were horrible. They had no pace, no grip at all. You can see Korsak there, 135.2 on mediums. That's the pace that the leaders were setting. And meanwhile, me on the hard tyres, it just wasn't there. I was doing 1:37, so I was pretty much 2 seconds off the pace. And Kozlak was rapidly catching me up behind. And I was just trying to keep the car on track, really, trying to get no incidents and trying not to extend or cut any corners, because you never know with penalties, you can always get something in this race. But at this point, it was inevitable. I was waiting for Kozlak to catch me up. There was more cars in the pits as Pablo Futes comes in for medium tyres, but he's going to rejoin actually ahead of us, as you can see there, and we're not even going to be close to him. So pretty much at this point, everyone has done their pit stops, and there's nobody left to pit. So it kind of hit me. I was like, wow, we're down in P13. I'm about to be P14 Heroes. Now Kozlak, using the DRS, he's going to try and close us down here. And we have got a good straight line speed at times. When I managed to max out the throttle, we're okay. But even still, Kozlak has the confidence. He's got the better tyre. He goes down the inside. We are going to defend it. We're going to try and hang on as long as we can here, holding the outside and then the inside through the next right. But again, Kozlak just has that grip. He's all over the back of us here. As we go into the double Fs, I know he's going to go for this move. I can see it a mile away. And I try to set up the switchback, which we do manage to achieve just about, but Kozlak just kept his nose in this right-hander, and I couldn't quite turn across, so that gives him the advantage, and he makes the move, and eventually I have to back out and let him go. So we have to try and, our best to fight, but sometimes you just don't have the pace, and me in this race, with my throttle issues and hard tyres, we just weren't there. So we go back down to P14 and last in this race as we enter lap 10. And it was at this point where, again, everyone's done their pit stops. I knew that there wasn't much in the race, and it was around this point where I was like, chat, you know what? I think we're going to have to call it a day as we pick up our second warning for track limits on lap 11. So, again, not great. That's pretty risky, because now we've got the whole race to manage without picking up any warnings. As we do actually set a personal best finally on lap number 12. We improved by a 10th. We're still in the 137s, but it's a personal best nonetheless. But then Korsak retires on lap 13, going on to lap 14. And I was wondering what the hell was happening here as we set another personal best. We finally get into the 136s, because like you can see, 3.5 up the road. But now we've got a yellow flag here. And it turns out Korsak has actually spun out of turn 1. And we have a safety car in this race. And suddenly we have a massive lifeline here today. And we have an opportunity to get something out of this race. So we are going to pit for the medium tyres. I'm fully aware, and I knew that my pace was still rubbish. Like, I had no pace around here, but the medium tyres are an opportunity to get me back into the race, and the safety car is going to bunch us all up. My mechanics weren't even ready for me. It seems like my teammate must have been in the pits a moment ago, so we lost even more time here as the mechanics weren't ready. But we do get back underway as the green light goes off, and away we go. So we're now at mediums. We can comfortably get to the end on these, so there's no concerns about tyre wear as we rejoin, of course, still in last place, but P13 now. And we're going to try and hopefully get something out of this. If I can get a couple of points, I'll be really happy. The target for me was, because I don't have the pace, I have to try and keep it clean and not get any corner cuts or track extensions. We're currently on 2 warnings, so 1 more, and we are picking up a 3-second time penalty. So the target in this final stint was to make up a few places and also not get a penalty. It's a bit debris on the right-hand side. Someone's lost their end plate in the restart phase, but here we go, back underway for the safety car restart. And it's actually a good exit from us at the final corner, getting the run on Kozlak here into turn number 1. But I wasn't going to go for the dive, but he had the same idea. He actually has contact with the Toro Rosso, and again, I'm trying to avoid contact, and I don't want to get wing damage again, because if we get wing damage, it's going to be suicide. So yeah, just trying to hang on. I'm being patient with it. We're not rushing into things. We'll have our chance later on, but now into the double F, we send it down the inside of Kozlak here, making an aggressive move and trying to get things done, because I noticed very quickly that even though I was on fresh mediums, I still didn't have the pace. So I had to get the elbows out, be aggressive, and get the moves done by being a bit more aggressive than I usually would be. And it's not my style, but it had to be done. Marco Tonizza actually, surprisingly, in the Ferrari had to pit, so I wonder if maybe he had damage. Maybe it was his front wing end plate that got lost on the restart. So that's going to give us P11, and that is, of course, a championship contender in the Ferrari. So that's a big one for us in the championship. Into turn 1, I thought about having a look down the inside of my teammate on the brakes. Of course, my teammate is on the hard tyres, and he got screwed over in this entire phase and had to put on the hard tyres, but we didn't quite achieve it there. We then move on to the next lap, and Zen Arme is setting a 135.2. We're a little bit off the pace as we do make the move on Shkali, our teammate, around the outside into turn 1, and we do make our way into the points for the first time since lap number 1. So it's been a long race, but we finally made it back into the top 10. Zen Arme 34.8, really good pace from him. Meanwhile, we're into the 35s, and Zen Arme is on the soft tyres, we're on the mediums, but we're still a long way off the leader pace as we try to recover in this race. There is a massive train of cars here, and I believe most cars have time penalties, so it's all about keeping it clean, not losing time, and trying to stay as close as possible, because we'll benefit at the end of the race as we now skip all the way onto lap 24. It took me about 3 laps to get onto the back of these guys again because my pace wasn't great, but we're now finally on the back of HTAR Luke, and we're going to try and find a way past the Renault driver here as we make our way through the end of the lap. And we've also got Pablo Fuentes right in front of him in the Alfa Romeo, so if we can get both of these guys, that would be great news for us in the championship. And here we go at the final corner, great exit from us, and we've got a beautiful slipstream as we make our way up towards turn 1. Luke doesn't defend the inside, so we're going to slip past and make a nice easy move on the brakes, keeping it nice and tidy and leaving some room on the exit, but eventually Luke has to back off and let us take P9. So there we go, we've now made our way up to 2 World Championship points, and we're now behind Pablo Fuentes. And this was the key battle where I feel like a podium may have been lost in this race, and you'll see what I mean at the end, but this may have just cost us the podium finish. As you can see in the back straight here, we lose a chunk of time due to pedal issues and lack of straight line speed, but eventually we do recover on the brakes quite nicely as Pablo is attacking JSR. JSR was one of the cars to fit the soft tyres in the pit stop faces. We go down the inside here of the Alfa Romeo, and we make a perfectly fine move actually, and we're now on the outside, but unfortunately for us, Pablo pushes us wide, and then for double measures, Luke gives us contact, so we lose a chunk of time, a couple of tenths, maybe even about a second and a half. We lost a lot of time there. Eventually we got back onto the back of Pablo Fuentes here, down into the hairpin, looking at the back straight, and JSR and the Toro Rosso really struggling now on those soft tyres, but unfortunately for us, those cars up the road, they're pulling away, so we need to get closer because of the time penalties, as now Pablo Fuentes tries to put a move on JSR. He goes to the outside on the brakes, around the outside. It's a great move from him. We're going to try and follow him through and use the grip on the medium tyres as we make a nice move also around the outside of JSR. We then pick up the inside line through the double rights, and we are going to make that overtake stick. And just as a precaution, we do take the narrow inside line to avoid JSR going back down the inside as we now move up into 8th place in this race. And we now come to the final lap of the Grand Prix, and I finally got a little bit of luck here because Pablo actually pulled away a little bit, but he lagged a little bit mid-apex, which allowed me to just close up a little bit to him. I think I would have passed him anyway because he didn't have DRS this time around, but luckily for us, we saved a bit of fuel and plenty of ERS to try and make this move happen. And here we go, we're going to pull to the outside and make the overtake happen as we now go nice and late on the brakes around the outside. Pablo pretty late himself, to be fair, but he actually gives us the room, and we're going to go the long way round once again into that heavy brake zone. This time we've got the inside through the double rights, and we're going to do the exact same move as last time. Close the door and take a nice early apex to avoid the car going down the inside there. We cover off the switchback, and there we go, job done, up to P7. And now it's all about just pushing as much as we could flat out to the line, using up the fuel and the ERS without picking up a warning or a corner cut possibly, as we make our way through the penultimate corner now into the final bend here at USA. And it's been a tough race for us. No pace, broken throttle, wing damage, but eventually we cross the line and we benefit from time penalties. We was, I believe, the only car, or at least the only of 3 cars actually, myself, Kevin, and also because we didn't pick up any time penalties, and I benefited massively. I can tell you I missed out on a podium to Zename by 1/10 of a second, and we go back to lap 27 where of course we had contact with Luke and Pablo Fuentes, and that cost us a podium. Otherwise it could have been P3, possibly even P2 in this race. So in the end it happened. I don't know how it happened, but it was an insane recovery. We get a 4th place just by not getting penalties, getting very fortunate with the safety car, which I was hoping for the entire 28 laps of the race, and just battling safely, keeping it clean in the second part of the race, and eventually we get our benefit and a just rewards for having such a tough race with, of course, throttle issues. And we scored 12 World Championship points. But that is your final race results, and Kevin picks up the win ahead of Jake, who, to be fair, he's at championship rivals. He's scored a great podium then. That's massive for the championship, and Zename rounds off the podium. And in the end, we get P4, and our rival Pablo Fuentes, due to penalties, actually finishes P11 and outside of the points. So it's a really good day at the office for us here today. We move into the Drivers' Championship just to confirm the results, and you can see Kevin is at the top of the table with 99 points to his name. Korsak, of course, DNFing here today. He finishes and outside the points, and pretty much it's a disappointing race for him. 82 points to his name, as Kevin has a bit of a gap now in the championship. We've got Michael Tanitza P3, also DNFing today as he had that wing damage and he finishes outside the point. So Korsak and Tonitza, both of them having a pretty miserable race here today. Pablo Fuentes, P11, of course, also at the point due to penalties. And Shadow, who is actually VSR Jake, he's in P5. He overtakes us in this race, takes that second place finish, and we score a miraculous P4 somehow, and we hold on to P6 in the championship. But it's very close, you know, from Pablo Fuentes in P4 all the way down to possibly Bruno Alves in 8th place, who I believe is Waza, Carbon Waza. There's a lot of places up for grabs there and a lot of points to find, so it's a big scrap, and it's still ongoing going into the next race at China. But we're ahead of Boom Song K by 2 points and 7 points clear of Waza, and also 11 points clear of Zen Arme, who of course got that podium ahead of us here today. So there you go, that is your lot from USA. A crazy race, guys, so many issues, but we survive, and this is why you should never give up in league racing, because you can always get something and you have to keep fighting and hope that things go your way. But yeah, very happy with that, because USA is not one of my favorite tracks. I'm really slow around here. The next race at China is also a bad track for me. It's not one of my best, so it's going to be another race of survival. But then the next 5 after that, Australia, Germany, Canada, Austria and Brazil, they're all good tracks for me. They're better tracks in terms of pace, so I'm looking forward to those. But for now, we've just got to try and survive one more race, and then hopefully the good races will arrive. But guys, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it and subscribe if you are new for daily Formula 1 content on the channel. And also click the bell icon, guys, to be notified whenever I do any of these videos on the channel. And finally, check out the 2 videos on your screen if you have missed them. But that's it from me here today at USA, and I'll see you all next time for the next episode at China. But until then, it's goodbye from me.